to My Dad is Grumpy as Shit. I am your host, Jay Cotto. And in today's segment, I do want to discuss observations yet again. So this is going to be observations part two. And the reason why I'm going to discuss observations again, I had a conversation recently with a friend of mine who I do value their opinion and value um, their feedback. And his feedback was that, I should do a little bit more on observations. And I would have to agree. And I'm going to start this off with um, an observation that I had the other day is that, I'm sitting in my car, like I normally do, going to work, doing what I normally do, say simple shit. And I tend to, and I'm sure a lot of people do this, and I tend to talk to myself on my way to work, figuring out how the day is going to progress and how it goes, and, kind of setting yourself up mentally and mentally preparing yourself for the day and possible conversations that you may or may not have. I'm psycho that way. Anyway, I'm doing this. So as I'm doing this, I look over and there's a car that's sitting right next to me at a stoplight. Now I see that person kind of, going in, if you will, like they go, I don't know if they're listening to music. I didn't roll my window down to see if, to hear if they were listening to music or not. But, you just kind of look at the person, you're just like, hey man, is this person going in, or are they listening to music like you? Or are they talking to themselves like yourself? So you kind of make eye contact and you look at each other and you're just like, you play it off, right? Like you might actually be listening to music because you don't want to look like a fucking dick, right? Like you're talking to yourself like some sort of psycho, right? So you play it off, right? So that's an observation that I think that I had that I don't know that anybody else does that, but you look at people and you just kind of like, let me not look like a fucking fool, so let me pretend like I'm listening to music. You know what I'm saying? So there's that, and I kind of same thing. And that the following day, I spent time with my wife, and we went to Walmart. And in going to Walmart, we spent that's when you're married, as long as we have been, and those little times of aloneness and togetherness is sometimes very valuable, right? They sometimes equate to a night out, right? And I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels that way. There's a lot of couples feel that way, and that's a valid truth. But any event, this is our moment, right? So we go to this Walmart, and I'm just kind of, we're shopping, we're doing our things, the things that we're supposed to do. And as we're doing those things, again, I'm observing, I'm looking around, just it's what I do. She puts stuff in the cart, she does shopping, she's got a better list than me. I have no idea what we're there for. She'll ask me for my opinion or my advice, and it's either yes or no, or I don't know, whatever you want, babe, that kind of shit, right? Anyway, I'm looking around, and I just so happened to see this couple. The young lady was, fairly good looking. She was a good looking girl. She had a boyfriend with her, and I was just like, oh, they both had long hair. Now, both of them having long hair, I just kind of like, again, my brain just kind of just goes left, right? So I'm starting to think to myself, well, shit, man, they both have long hair. I mean, yo, do you guys both put your hair up in a bun when you get busy? You know what I'm saying? Right. So this is the kind of wild shit I just started thinking about. Is it just something that dawned on me at that very moment, that I was just kind of like, is that something that transpires? In the same Walmart, we're at the checkout counter, we're checking out. Spanish dude right next to me is, he's scanning his shit. We're at self-checkout. He's scanning his things, and he scans something, and then it stops, and then basically contacts a person to come over because he can't scan any further, right? And I'm just, again, just observing. I'm looking around and see what's going on. So I just happen to look over, and I see that he's waiting for the person to come. So the person comes, and in doing so, he asked the person, the lady, why did it stop me? So he's buying a can of Rust-Oleum. Now, mind you, Rust-Oleum is something that you use to paint, right? Rust or whatever it is, to cover up rust. I've used it in my basement. In my studio setting, I have some of it that I've used. I have also been stopped in a CVS and Rite Aid, when I buy Duster. So Duster I use for my computer components to you know what I'm talking about. It's the canned air. So I've been stopped for that because people inhale duster. I've seen that. I've seen people, on TV. I forget the name of the show, but there was a girl that got high on that shit. It was just wild. But anyway, um, and knowing that, I understand why they stopped me for that. But they stopped this guy for Rust-Oleum, and I'm just like, what the fuck? So I tell my wife, I was like, you know what? I'm starting to realize that, or maybe not. Maybe they do stop people here for Rust-Oleum. I don't know, but we were up a little bit further from where we live, up north a little bit further, and I basically made the observation. I was just like, I kind of feel like it depends on your demographic as to what they're going to stop you for, because I'm pretty sure they didn't stop me when I bought Rust-Oleum in Home Depot where we live, but they'll stop you for duster. So being that we're up north, and I mean, and I don't mean this in the bad way, but they kind of in the sticks kind of deal. I think they stop you for shit like that. So they'll stop you for duster and Rust-Oleum and shit like that. I understand getting ID'd for Advil, cold, and sinus. I get that part, right? But your demographic of where you live, they stop you for the oddest kind of things. So these are some of the observations that I've had lately. I've just kind of, the moment he mentioned that, I started observing more, oddly enough, and just started realizing that that's something that I do a lot of, and recently, just to share something with you, I might digress a little bit. It may be part of the conversation, but recently my wife and I shared our 20th anniversary. Um, Happily married for 20 years, and our 4 children, as you guys already know, and as I've already shared. Successful marriage. And even in that, you kind of think to yourself, it's like, shit, man, I've known my wife since I was 14 years old. I look at her standing in the kitchen, and it's just amazing to know that you can find someone that doesn't necessarily have to have everything in common with you, um, but someone that's willing to put up with your shit. As odd as they are, because I read somewhere that, your mom loves you because you're her son, your siblings love you because they're your brother, but there's only one person that knows the real you, and that's your spouse, because your spouse knows all the odd things that you do, all the little things that would strike other people like, WTF. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's, looking at my wife, and I'm sure my wife thinks to herself all the time, like, what the fuck did I do? And who the fuck did I marry? Because this guy is a wacky guy. Like, I have my things, man. I have a foot fetish. I'm not going to lie, you know. So when she walks around barefooted and her toes are out, to me, it's like Christmas, right? It's just holy shit. It's every time. Um, so I have little oddities like that, So I'm sure my wife is kind of like, what the fuck? But again, you observe these things. So this is part two from the last. So I ask that, when you go out, look at these things, pay attention to these things. You start to see, odd things that you wouldn't otherwise see all of a sudden. But anyway, do what you do it well, do it the best way you know how. Jay Cotto, and I am out.